So, today we're going to dive into a teaching method that's about way more than just grammar and vocabulary. We're talking about tackling one of the biggest, most common hurdles in learning a new language: fear. Let's get into it. Seriously, think about that for a second. If you're a teacher, you see this all the time. And if you've ever been a language student, you've probably felt it. It's that knot in your stomach, right? That little voice in your head that's terrified of making a mistake. And this isn't some small thing. It's a massive obstacle that can stop learning dead in its tracks. And that's really the key here. This barrier, this wall that goes up, it has nothing to do with how smart someone is. It's all about emotion. So we're going to explore how this emotional wall gets built, and more importantly, how one really cool method figured out how to tear it right down. Now, what's fascinating is that there's actually a scientific name for this feeling: the affective filter hypothesis. It's a concept from a linguist named Stephen Krashen, and the idea is actually pretty simple. When we feel anxious or scared or just not motivated, it's like an invisible shield goes up in our brains. The lesson can be happening right in front of us, but this emotional filter just blocks the information from getting in and sticking. And believe me, this isn't just a theory. The numbers really paint a picture. A study back in 2020 at a school in Lima, Peru, found that a staggering 85% of their second graders felt anxious and discouraged while learning English. 85%. I mean, just imagine a classroom where almost every single kid is dealing with that. So the huge realization was this: the problem wasn't that the kids couldn't learn English. Of course they could. The real issue was that they just weren't in an emotional place to learn. That affective filter we talked about, it was sky high, making it almost impossible for any real learning to happen. Okay, so when you're up against a problem like that, you can't just throw more vocabulary drills at it. You need a completely new playbook. And that's what led to the creation of something called the LEL method. And it all started with this question, a simple but really powerful one. What if the classroom wasn't a place of stress, but a place of joy? What if the main emotion wasn't fear, but laughter? You know, this one little shift in perspective is the foundation for everything that came next. So this brings us to the method itself, learning English by laughing, or LEL. It's this really cool mix of ideas. It takes principles from things like laughter therapy and laughter yoga, which are all about using intentional laughter to lower stress, and it mashes them together with proven language teaching techniques. And the science totally backs this up. Laughter releases endorphins, it lowers the stress hormone cortisol, and it just puts your brain in a positive, receptive state. It basically primes you to learn. So what's the game plan here? Well, first and foremost, the goal is to lower that affective filter, to bring that invisible shield down. And once you do that, it's like a domino effect. Students start to feel better emotionally, which means they're more engaged in the lesson. And when they're engaged and feeling good, their confidence to actually try speaking English goes way, way up. Okay, so what does this actually look like in a real classroom? This is so much more than the teacher just telling a few jokes at the beginning of class. The LEL method is a structured system built on some really specific humor-based techniques. Let's break it down. The whole method has 22 different techniques, and they're all neatly organized into 3 steps. First, you start with emotional activation. This is all about getting students relaxed and in a good mood. Then you move into the actual lesson with humor-based language instruction. And finally, you wrap up with activities that spark creativity and participation, getting them to use the language in a fun, low-pressure way. And the activities themselves, they are just brilliant. For example, there's one called laughter vowels. Students practice English vowel sounds, but they associate each one with a different kind of laugh. So you might have a deep, booming ha-ha-ha for the O sound. Or they'll do funny grammar, where they create totally ridiculous sentences that still follow all the grammatical rules. The absurdity makes the rules stick. It completely changes the classroom from a place of pressure into a place of play. All right, so it all sounds really fun and creative, but here's the million-dollar question. Did it actually work? Did all this laughter lead to better learning? Well, the answer is a big, resounding yes. The results were just so clear and positive. Teachers saw a huge jump in how much students were participating. Kids who were once too shy to speak were suddenly more confident. The whole vibe of the classroom changed. It just became a more positive place to be. And of course, the students' emotional well-being improved, which in turn made them much better learners. And look, this wasn't just a few teachers saying, hey, this feels better.
The LEL method got official recognition. It won a Good Educational Practices Award in 2022. It's even being shared in teacher training programs across Peru and Bolivia now, proving just how big of an impact it's had.
So, when you zoom out and look at the big picture, what's the major takeaway from all of this? The success of the LEL method tells us something really profound about education in general, something that goes way beyond just learning a language.
And it really boils down to this simple truth. You cannot separate how a student feels from their ability to learn. They are completely, totally intertwined. When a student feels safe, happy, and relaxed, they don't just learn better, they become open and available to learn in the first place.
And I think this final thought from the source material just says it all perfectly. Teaching English is not only about grammar and vocabulary, it is about emotions, connection, and creating spaces where students feel confident to express themselves. So maybe, just maybe, the key to unlocking a student's true potential is as simple and as wonderful as making them laugh.